Kindly tell us, what was Bomas of Kenya? Was it ever gazetted, and why?
Yes, as you know, our officers at advisory towers don't have sufficient space. The presidential election being a huge operation, we then, the commission procured the Bomas of Kenya as a tallying center. And after the procurement, then we officially gazetted it as a national tallying center.
It's a national tallying center.
Yes.
And what's the purpose and why was it gazetted as a national tallying center?
The purpose is it's a legal requirement that you must have, the tallying center must be gazetted and running to all the other 5 elections we normally gazette tallying center, so that candidates and the interested persons know where the tallying will take place. It's a legal requirement. And that's why we gazetted it.
All right.
Yes.
And the tallying is done, what beyond tallying, is any other things done at the national NTC?
Yes, it's an operation. We talk of verification, tallying of results, and final declaration of the winner of that election, or a final declaration of results. All those activities happen at national tallying centers, but they can't happen in isolation. Of course, it's a whole operation,
okay.
And there are many people, there are many players, so a lot of other activities happen.
Right. And
yes.
I don't say this in jest, but you will hear mention of Nairobi Serena Hotel and other places. I believe you have only one national tallying center.
The national tallying center was at Bomas of Kenya, and there's no other national tallying center for purpose of 2022 general elections.
Purposes of 2022 general elections. Now, we go to the next point. You talk about what you did to enhance transparency, and this you start at paragraph 42 all the way to 45. And the issue of verification, I can bet it will come up in cross-examination. And I need you say you did it in an open way, and I would want you to explain the processes done in verification and how you managed it as the chairman of the IEBC.
Yes, first we gazetted the results path. Secondly...
So what was the result path?
The result path is as per the Gazette notice laid out in paragraph 37, which runs up to paragraph, yes, the entire paragraph 37.
Yes.
Would you like me to go through it?
Just very briefly, so
yes,
that we flow together.
So election takes place at the constituencies and at the polling stations. For purpose of presidential election, the voting and counting is done at the constituency. I mean at the polling station, and then we have Form 34A filled by the presiding officer and signed by the presiding officer and the agents. And once that is done, the form is scanned and transmitted to the National Tallying Center and the Constituency Tallying Center. And we had a copy of the same going to the public portal. So that is the genesis of the election.
Before you move, in the affidavit of the first affidavit, you talked about technology and the basis why it had to go to the public portal. Kindly explain.
Yes, so for purposes of the election, we then set up a public portal to ensure that all the results are deposited in the public portal, and anybody who wishes to interact with the results, not just Kenyans but the whole world, would have an opportunity to interact with the results.
Did that portal have a password, or are you saying every citizen of this great republic and any person anywhere in the world could access it?
Yes, we did not have a password for the portal. Just log in IBC and you get into the portal. What we ensured is that we have sufficient firewalls so that those who intended to penetrate or crash it would not be able to. And I believe many people interacted with the portal. From the records we have, we had 386 million people worldwide interacting in the portal, and about, I think, mostly from Kenya, there were about 300, but the 80 million were from the rest of the world.
Right. So you're saying 386 million?
Yes, interacted.
In a country of 50 million interacted with the portal?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to paragraph 42. Let's go to, you are explaining now the verification, how it was done.
Yes, so the verification was done in line with the results path, and at the Bomas of Kenya, then we set up in the auditorium various desks which were to carry out the verification. And this then was done in an open and transparent manner.
As it was done, do you know when it started?
We got, I think, we set up the desks way before the election date, and the first results came in, I think, from the 10th of August.
10th of August?
Yeah, 10th of August, yes.
It involved who in particular? Only IBC officials or commissioners?
The desks had IBC officials with agents. Each desk has an IBC official who had to deal with the data. We had the agents of the 4 presidential candidates, and we had also then there's a chair for the returning officer when he comes. He or she comes from the constituency to present the results. So that was the composition of the desks at the auditorium.
So in the process, once you verify, what would happen, which you've explained?
Yes. What were we verifying? Yes. We had the results in the portal, in the scanned form 34A. Then we had results now at the constituency. The constituency returning officer collects all the results from 34As from all the polling stations, fills from 34B, and then brings it to the National Tallying Center. So at the National Tallying Center, the team was looking at what was in the portal versus the original Form 34S brought in by the returning officer as against the 34B. And if there are any errors, most of the errors were around the populating of 34B, then the error forms were filled, and the result forms then were not, none could be changed to just fill the error forms. And those error forms were all then submitted to the commission. So the team was verifying all these results, and once the verification was done and everybody's happy, then the results are posted. The Form 34As are populated into Form 34C by another team that was sitting on the auditorium, the ICT team. So then Form 34C would be automatically be generated. Yes.
Thank you. Now, when you say it's automatically generated, I need you to explain what you mean and whether it was then in a place where the public would view.
Yes, all the desks were in the open. In this auditorium, we had observers, we had members of the public who were accredited to be present, and it was in an open place. Even the ICT team was seated in the auditorium on their own desk.
Now,
so it's an open process.
Were the commissioners kept in the dark, or were they aware or involved in any way?
All,
so how?
Yes. I say all the 6 commissioners were with me in the auditorium right from the beginning, and they were all over the auditorium assisting in the exercise of tallying and verification.
Okay. And as the verification was happening, we could see announcements being made by commissioners. Kindly explain how that was happening.
Yes. The constituency returning officer, after going through the process and the verification, which was very, very thorough, by the way, I remember in the beginning it took a lot of time because of the scrutiny of those 34As and 34Bs.
Mr. Chairman, you
Yes.
know, when you say it was very thorough, Queen's English, probably now King's English, it's good to explain when you say it was very thorough. What do you mean?
Because all the agents had a chance to look at all the forms, and if there was any issue, then it will be brought to our attention as a commission and is resolved before that result is announced.